Indonesia, with the Namibia, and also, so I always tell the Chinese leadership, don't forget, you always think China is rich enough. I think, don't forget, we are combined in this fifth group. We are with the Indonesia, with the Nigeria, with the Namibia together. That's the China. Actually, don't forget we are real situation. Certainly, we have also the sixth group in the world still accumulate their force to a rapid urbanization process in the coming decades. So we can see if China in the fifth group, we can pronounce to see the coming 60 years, what will be happens in China. Yeah. That's very good to let people much more rational to think what's the China will happens. And I get from these 240 countries, nations, regions, to select this 48 countries, according their population, their big of land, and GDP per capita, and see the 10 indicators. Now we can see how these 48 nations in the last 60 years, what are they doing? And we can see that all nations come from the escape from the urbanization process. But we can see the second, the most nations come to the urbanization to the 90%, but their GDP and per capita cannot rise over the glass ceiling, 15,000 US dollars. Only the small nation through the transformation to another life. So I give the name, the first group, I say the urbanization is the only labor urbanization. They are urbanization, the labor from the countryside to the city country, still labor, only small group in the world. Through the transformation, through their intelligent innovation. That's the way to transformation. So urbanization process in the world should be in two ways. First, labor, countryside to the city. And the second, labor to transformation to innovation society. That's I'm very emphasized in the last years. And I'm also very proud that also asked by our Prime Minister before he go to the position. I say really China should go to a transformation from the labor transformation to a new society. That's the innovation society. You can see the first example very clearly. Only 2/3 population urbanized, like the two countries, typical Austria and Italy. 66%. Always 1/3 people live still in the countryside. That's I say that's the first model. 66%, or 2/3 model of urbanization process. Transformation. And the second is very typical through the country like Germany, Switzerland, in 3/4 people urbanized and keep there and the tribes still 1/4 people living in the countryside. That's the second model, 74% transformation. And then the typical is the States, United States, Britain, and a lot of countries like Sweden, Denmark, and also New Zealand, Canadian, urbanization process 80%. 1/5 people still keep in the countryside, not 100%. That's the say I tell the old people. It's very important. Also in China, you can see also the different province, different cities also goes very fast in the last 4 decades. We can see very clearly through their urbanization process, they rise in their GDP per capita. And but we see now is the first front group outside, beside with the cities, Shanghai, Beijing, Tianjin, and the first groups of the province, especially on the coast province, they are already over the 66%. That's already reached the Italian, reached the Austria. So it's really the time is already there. And when I last month gave the presentation to all the governors from the different provinces in Beijing, I tell them, you don't complain each other, because if we put the Chinese urbanization process by the different provinces on the background of the world, so the China is the really before in the last decades, what we achieved is the normal rules of the world. But now come to China to divide. You can see 3 decades later, afterwards, we will see exactly the divided 2 kinds of province, 2 kinds of the regions in China. Some will come to the urbanization through the second urbanization process. Innovative, through the innovation society transform, and the most will reach and still go to the only the labor transformation, labor urbanization process. And what's the reason? A lot of people will ask me. I analysis a lot of data. I find the biggest is the urbanization rate depends on the college university, means entrance rate. It's from beginning very big difference. Through the urbanization and the industrialization, you get rich if you this richness not invest in your education from beginning 15% difference, and to the final come to the 35% difference from the college interest rate. That's make the biggest difference. So I always say why I still working in the university, not as a professional plan, because really important. If we only in the university, you can build more clever plan than us. So it's we do a lot. Actually, in the practice, in the urban plan, we know the problem exactly in China. That's the crucial time, most crucial time. I always tell all the Chinese leadership, that's unique historical, unique time. Only in this time give us. In China, all the people say we have 5,000 year history. I always say 5,000 years, but only one time you make a decision. Go to a place, go to innovation time. We analysis our own planning, we should know exactly what's the environmental challenge. We should know exactly the social demands. We should know our urban planning, know every planning, every design, what's the afterwards will come to the social, economic, ecological impact. We should do the assessment. And finally, we should be updated by the urbanization process to know what's the most urgent, what we should put our attention to, what we should do. Actually, we know the case in in Latin America. They are also have achieved urbanization process, industrialization results. But if you cannot transform to the other side, you waste a lot of energy and budget. So in this case, we also do a lot to the modeling of the society to see what's the happens every city in China. When today we do the urbanization process in every cities, over 600 cities in China, what's the city really have the problem, and in which direction in society, in social, or in the ecological, or in economic. Our team make just in time the data selection and through the open data. For example, here, China, Shanghai wanted to looking for the place where should be planning, where should be location for the innovation park. We selection in the data from the 2009 to 2030, over 4 million activities. Like today, it's the only one activities in the last 4 years. All the locations in the Shanghai. And then concentration through the different steps and come to find the biggest value of these activities. And finally, the 50 biggest activities, and we see exactly who, where should be there. And we make different correlation with different things. For example, with the metro station, no, it's not correct. And with the highway, we don't find it's the collective relation. And then finally, we found the blue area. So-called blue area is the preservation, historical preservation area. You can see exactly this preservation area, 400 to 800 meters. Are the most people, innovative people, they like to go there, not another place. So this value of our as well symposium conference, if we are looking for, not here, we are today, excuse, okay, I change. We are today here, these points. It's not the most rare one. If we choose here or here, there will come much more audience. Yeah, that's the Chinese people much like the values they like. So it's much more related to the historical. This is the old factory. This is still just a new preservation area that will be also developed afterwards. So you can see the innovative people much more like this preservation historical area. That's also give the reason for the government why we should be preserved. It's not only preservation for preservation, it's preservation for the innovative people. The people come here, they like, they have new idea, they become much more innovative. Yeah, you see, only in Pudong area, only 2 parts. One is much more concentrated investment by the new area, Pudong, the investment come 2-3 points. And here is through the export sides, you can see coming. So if you leave this preservation area for the innovative park, you have to investment much more than use this preservation area. So through this case, we know a lot. So we propose the government, the preservation area should be transformed back for the innovative people, for their innovative park. Here is the way afterward with the simulation, the earthquake area in my project in the earthquake area in Sichuan province in 2008. Afterwards, we simulated a lot of the air pollution and also the river and the flow of the air. And then we can see afterwards, we transform this new urban planning, use this flow of the air and with the river. So it's much more changing our way to think, because before we never see so clear correlation between the river and the air flows. So through the air flows and the water flows, we make the new lines of the city after the earthquake. So we use these flows and both banks of the flows as the green system for the new city. So it's much more better. This is another case. We should be looking for the young's home building for a lot of the rising of the housing price in the last decades in Shanghai. Too much. It's not good for the young people. Just graduated from the university. Not good for the people. They do the doctor, postdoctor. Too expensive for their livings in Shanghai. We're looking for the new planning, the location, and we use the people who are always writing the blogs in the website. And we see a lot of things, very interesting. They are writing in the every moment. You can see they are not living in the city middle. They are just in the 4 kilometers to 3 kilometers from the city center, and then 8 kilometers from the center. That's the university. Very clearly, you see the people two sides. One is 4 kilometers, and one is the 8 kilometers. But the points, they are the most the young, intelligent. They write much more the blogs, and they live in there. And so that's through this analysis to support our location decision. Where should be for the young people, young intelligence, the young people who should be looking for the Shanghai for them. So exactly, the Tongji University, the Fudan University, that's the middle of town, and that's the roads. That's the people who write in the blogs very clearly to support our urban planning. We just finished the analysis in Shanghai. After the World Expo, from the 4 lines, metro lines, now we have the 14 lines in the last years. We analyze the 4 million people every day they use the metro system. We can see which station they are coming in the morning. That means they have enough in this region, enough working place, because they come. Yeah. And afternoon they are leaving. So that's the place typical in Shanghai, offer enough working place. And we can see the second part. Yeah, that's the working place, location, commercial place, very exactly. And we see also the totally another side. Morning, they are much more go to the metro to go to their working place. And afternoon, in the evening, they leave the place. That means the place have enough place to live in, but not enough to work in. Very clearly, this is the second part. That's exactly to diagnose where Shanghai needs a working place, where Shanghai needs more living place. So that's the place, the price of the place, we need more working place. And here is the both sides, living and coming. And the living and the coming, both in the morning and in the afternoon. Some people say, that place keep the balance of the working place and the living place. No, because they use the metro. That means the place, they have enough working and living place, but they are not combined good enough. If they are combined good enough, they don't use the metro line. So we should do much more exactly to regulation where is the living standard and with the working standard to keep much more balance this place. So it's the time we much more to innovate not only the city, also innovative way for our working way of urban planning. So now we developed our platform. We can do the planning and see that every analysis simultaneous, different play, different design. We see direct the diagnostic for the future, for the impact of the social, ecological, and the economic. So that's what we developed now today. So actually, what I say, city is not only by the urban planner. Urban planner, a good urban planner should know much more the regularity of the urban life, know the regularity of the urbanization process, and know the form, know the flow, and also know the city, cluster, regional life. So in this case, in the last months, we do much more the first lines, so-called the city intelligent model, C. That's the modeling of the physical of the city. That's the best on the urban planning in the last decades we do from the urban planner, the Shanghai World Expo, where I was the chief planner. We do much more on this developed system. Also, not only the beam is much more one building. We use much more the connection lines, the information lines, and the infrastructure between the cities. And we also try to share the public the information with the people together. And that's the first that time in the 2008 we developed modeling of the first scene model of the expo sites. We can change every building. We can see the linkage between every building, and use it to simulate the World Expo Shanghai. Covered 6 square kilometers. And now after World Expo in the 2012, we